In February 2016, strange sounds were heard all over the small town of Forest Grove, Oregon. Allegedly, more than 200 calls came into the local police department reporting the sound. Attempts to locate the source of the noise were made by residents and police officers, but ultimately, they found nothing. To this day, the cause of the sound remains a mystery. A Facebook post was made by a confused Forest Grove resident on February 12, 2016. It contained a video of the sound as well as a caption asking if anyone knew what could be happening. Several neighbors also reported frequently hearing the sound at random times in the evening with no idea of its source. The Facebook post shortly went viral, and it didn't take long for the strange story to get news coverage. While the small town of Forest Grove was getting the most attention it had ever experienced, the sound still continued and residents remained annoyed. An overwhelming amount of phone calls were made to the local police station, and as a result, officers and many citizens attempted to investigate. The fire department even drove all around where the majority of the reports were coming from, but they came back empty-handed every time. The biggest development that was made was from a local university professor who was intrigued by the case. He tried to pinpoint the exact location of the noise by opening an online map to the public where anyone could report the exact location they had heard it. Strangely, this only made matters more complicated, as the reach of the sound ended up being much bigger than originally thought. Reports were made all over and up to 4 miles in distance from each other. While the link was relatively exclusive, one should still be reminded that it is very easy to lie on the internet, and many of these reports could be false or unrelated. Confusion lingered throughout the following weeks until suddenly it stopped. The noise disappeared, never to be heard again. The police closed the investigation, stating that they determined the sound did not pose a threat to the town. Now, the story just lives on as a mystery. There are plenty of theories, but strangely, almost all of them have been disproven. What makes the story so interesting is the unique nature of the sound. If it weren't so ambiguous, it likely would have been identified eventually. News outlets have attempted to liken it to countless different noises, but it really was too unique to not be its own thing. Most people refer to it simply as the Forest Grove sound. Most would agree that the sound is likely from something man-made and mechanical in nature. The noise from the original video is about 1.17 kilohertz in pitch, and it seemed to quickly rise in pitch every time that it came to a halt. Apart from the ending of the sound, the frequency of the noise stays completely consistent in a way that only something man-made could. What is even more interesting is how no one was able to locate the source. It was heard in so many places that surely it was loud enough to track down just by using your ears. Unless, of course, this was a traveling phenomenon, happening in multiple places around the exact same time. As it turns out, this is not the only time that an unidentified sound has mystified the general public. There are a few other similar stories that also have yet to be solved. One of the more popular cases happened one morning in British Columbia when another small-town resident woke up to thunderous wailing noises that seemed to come straight from the sky. She caught the sound on video, and let me tell you, it is much more terrifying than the Forest Grove sound. When I first saw this, I was certain that it was fake, and I'm not the only one to have held this opinion. After all, the resemblance to trumpets is uncanny and feels like it was done intentionally, considering the biblical concepts of trumpets sounding in the sky to signal the end times. As you can imagine, conspiracy theorists had a field day with this one. However, this has apparently occurred enough times for the phenomenon to have coined unique names across the globe. The sound has reportedly been heard in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, Japan, Italy, Brazil, and many more. In America, they are referred to as sky trumpets or skyquakes. Another common sound phenomenon is what is known as the hum. The name is very self-explanatory, as it has been described as a deep rumbling frequency heard coming from seemingly nowhere. Like with the sky trumpets, the sound has been heard across the globe. It's said people can hear the sound from anywhere between 32 Hz and 80 Hz. Blame has been placed on everything from mechanical devices, pipelines, to even jet streams. However, it seems that not everyone is actually able to hear the sound, which leads many to believe it could possibly not even exist. Instead, it could be a case of what is called otoacoustic emissions, or sounds that are generated from within the ear. Similar to the ringing or hissing you hear when listening very closely to a completely silent room, the hum could just be a sound produced by your ears to fill in for the absence of stimulation. But just like with all the other sounds in this video, the truth about this one is still undetermined. While no one ever found out exactly what the Forest Grove sound was, there was no lack of theories circulating the community at the time. In an effort to get closer to solving this mystery, I'd like to briefly go over these hypotheses and let you decide for yourself which ones are most likely true. The first thoughts many residents had was that the sound could have possibly been a gas leak. At first glance, this may seem like the closest possibility, but Northwest Natural Gas claimed that they weren't experiencing any gas line issues. On top of this, if it really was a gas leak, an unmistakable smell would have permeated the air. Therefore, this theory is debunked. The next theory that residents speculated was that the source of the sound was due to some noisy mechanism coming from the local Department of Forestry, which was conveniently located just across the road from where the Facebook video was originally recorded. From what I can gather, the Department of Forestry never made an official statement on the issue, so it's entirely possible that they had something to do with it. But this doesn't explain the wide range of locations that people heard it from. Certainly their machines aren't loud enough to be heard from 4 miles away. The third most common theory is that someone or something was scraping metal on a nearby train track. However, this theory doesn't have much merit because only a portion of the reports were made within the proximity of the nearest train tracks, while most of the reports were nowhere near them. But I suppose if a metal object were big enough, the sound could possibly travel long distances. But this still fails to explain the almost completely consistent frequency. Finally, the fire marshal believes the sound to be a result of a faulty attic fan. He has good reason to believe this, as this video of an unoiled attic fan sounds eerily familiar.
That's not good.
I believe this one to be one of the stronger theories, but still, how did the sound travel so far? And why wouldn't the owner just fix it if it was making such a loud noise? Perhaps the homeowner was out of town, but there's no way of knowing now. These are all the most frequent theories, and as you can see, not one of them is without flaws. However, there still remains one completely logical and plausible explanation. With many strange happenings in history, there's always this one common group of people that are subject to suspicion. Stupid kids. Many unexplainable happenings are excused as pranks from some pesky teenagers, but think about it, it really wouldn't be that hard for a couple of kids to pull this off. All they would need to do is find some way to produce this ungodly loud noise using whatever machines or tools they may have. Maybe they originally planned on doing it only a few times just for fun, until they struck gold and made the news. They then could have decided to go all over town doing it as a way to perpetuate the mystery. The reason for it happening in the night could be so that they were less likely to get caught, and the reason for the sudden disappearance could, once again, be out of fear of getting caught. The police addressed the possibility of it being a prank in their official statement, saying, "While some may find it comical, interesting, and mysterious, it is unlawful if it is being done on purpose. If this is the case, the individual caught will face possible repercussions." After the statement was publicly posted on February 24th, the sound disappeared. How convenient. There's much about this mystery that remains unknown. We just don't have enough information to come to any solid conclusions. The most we can do is just make some educated guesses. The only way I can see this coming to a close is if the sound returns, but it seems like it's long gone by now. Maybe the noise really was just an attic fan or some pesky teenagers. Or maybe it remains unknown for a reason. Maybe there's something in these woods that we just can't and shouldn't understand.